This is the Royals POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Kansas City Royals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Noah Cameron is on a roll, and I'll break down what mattered most in tonight's Royals POSTCAST here on the Locked On Royals channel and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Tonight, we'll be breaking down the plays that mattered most, who stood out, and the topic you'll be talking about with your friends, as it was the third time in Noah Cameron's very brief major league career that he has been one of the best pitchers in baseball and pitched into the seventh inning with a no-hitter. Gives up just the one hit today, 115 pitches, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit, and it was a little doinker. It was a little blooper. Noah Cameron has, I don't know if I've been more surprised, and maybe, I don't know if I've been more wrong. I'm not too prideful to admit when I was wrong. I was very anti-Noah Cameron 2 months ago, and I do feel like I had pretty solid reasoning to be. He was pretty terrible for a while for the Royals. He was just hit after hit after hit after hit. Today gives you a fantastic performance, gives up just 2 base runners in the entirety of this game against a pretty bad Angels team, but it doesn't matter. Noah Cameron is our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
I heard Lefevre talk about it right after the game ended. First Royals since Zach Greinke to have a 1-hit shutout. And tonight, we made the point a couple of weeks ago that Noah Cameron has done it a lot better, or has pitched a lot better with Salvador Perez behind the plate than with Carter Jensen. Today, Carter Jensen's behind the plate. I actually looked at the lineup today, and I was kind of upset that they threw him right back in the lineup. They gave him a day off yesterday. I would have preferred for him to DH today and have Salvi behind the plate, but I understand Salvi's a little bit dinged up right now. But Noah Cameron gets the start. Carter Jensen behind the plate, still calling his own pitches. And today, it was basically, and I was a pitcher in high school and in college. I always preferred to call my own game. I think if you were to ask every other pitcher what they preferred, it was to call their own game, because they know how they're feeling, as telepathic as a catcher might be, the best of the best. They might not be as good at being able to tell what a pitcher's feeling good with on any given day. And it's not like Noah Cameron has been just doing the same thing over and over again and repeating the same thing over and over again. Today, heavy changeup, heavy slider. I mean, he used his changeup and his slider a combined 41% of the time. Everything else was down compared to the usage. The fastball usage was way down, I feel like, and he did not pitch well with the slider early in the season. It was one of the worst pitches in baseball by run value. He has thrown it really well here recently. He's been able to locate it, and he had a strikeout on Nathaniel Lau, which I thought was really, really good. He was able to get it down and in and still get the swing and miss on it. In total today, he got 21 whiffs. I mean, that is a huge number of swings and misses. He was in the strike zone just 47% of the time, but he got 28% chase. He pretty well mixed it up throughout the entirety of the game. He was heavy usage with the fastball early on, 24% four-seamer, but he still used the slider a ton early on and throughout the entire game. 2 right-handed batters, he was much more with the fastball and the changeup to lefties. He pitched his slider both sides of the plate, really, but it was the changeup to righties that was just really good. And I think that this is one of the most important developments. I would argue it might even be the most important development of the rest of the season. It is a lost season. 51-74. They have no hope or prayer to get back into the playoff race. So what are you looking for the rest of the season? Where do the Royals have holes? Well, I would argue that the rotation of the pitching staff as a whole is probably their biggest need going into the offseason. And you're kind of testing the rest of the bullpen or the rest of the team to earn a spot. It's glorified spring training. Earn your spot, earn your keep. Can you find a way to stay on the roster and stay in your spot for next season? And if they have one fewer rotation spot to worry about, if they can go into next season and say, we've got Waka, we've got Cameron, and we've got Lugo, you only really need to add 2 to 3 rotation pieces going into 2027. Now, I would feel much more comfortable if they added more than that, or if the depth that they have in the minor leagues was able to get healthy faster. But I think that being able to go into 2027, and I still think that there is a lot of luck involved. I mean, I thought that Noah Cameron had really good stuff today, but he's done it against some really bad teams. The Twins have been the one team that he's pitched well against that I'm not going to kind of qualify that with well, they were a bad team. The Tigers are not a good left-handed hitting team. The Angels are one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. He pitched well, I thought, the other night against the Dodgers. He had a couple of them get away from him, but I thought he pitched well as a whole. But when he's been at his most dominant, it's been against some of the pretty bad teams. So I'm not like all the way bought in. Like, I don't think he's an ace. I think that at his best, he's a 2 or a 3. At his worst, he's a guy that we've seen it this year. You don't want to see him pitch because he's been so bad. So I think that he can be your 4 going into next year. If he's your opening day starter, you've got some real issues. But I think that next year you can rely on Noah Cameron to be in the rotation from the get-go. He is approaching an inning. I believe he's approaching his major league inning threshold from last year. But you have to remember he also started the season in AAA and threw quite a few innings there. So we'll see if the Royals shut him down or give his arm a rest late in the season. You have to have guys that you're confident in going to if that's going to be the case. But Noah Cameron has absolutely earned the right to be one of the top pitchers in this rotation going into next year. But I do think that there is still a need for another couple of pitchers in the rotation. This just shores up one spot that you might have had a little bit of, you might have wavered on going into next season. So a great job from Noah Cameron this evening, a complete game shutout, a 1-hit shutout for Noah Cameron. Tip of the cap to Noah Cameron. And when we come back, we will break down an offense that I thought was solid today. A lot of loud outs, and I thought that the offense today against their version of Randy Dobnak was pretty solid. We'll break that down when we come back here on the Royals Postcast. A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and then suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. When you look at the school supply list and wonder if you're shopping for one child or opening a small office supply store, I didn't realize first grade required this much inventory. Shopping like this can get out of control if you're not careful. And when it's 9 p.m. the night before school starts and somebody suddenly remembers they need folders, notebooks, markers, and apparently 12 other things nobody mentioned until now, nothing gets the heart rate quite like emergency school shopping. I'm convinced Prime's Deliver Tomorrow Before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents in this exact moment. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back-to-school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. The offense today had its ups and downs. Ryan Johnson for the Angels is kind of their version of Randy Dobnak, a soft-throwing righty that comes at you from a weird arm angle and gets a bunch of weak contact and also gets a ton of hard-hit balls. The Royals had 8 hard-hit balls tonight. They had an expected batting average of just 261, a 35% hard hit rate. None of those numbers are going to jump off the table at you. I still think that this is a bad offense that needs to get healthy. You need to see Vinny Pasquantino and Maikel Garcia in this lineup next year, or else it's going to be a repeat of what we saw this last year. But I thought that the top of the lineup had a solid day at the plate. I'm starting to be concerned about Carter Jensen. I think that he is still the catcher of the Royals' future, but I think that it might be time to explore some other options in the leadoff spot for the time being. And maybe this is the opportunity where you just let him hit his way out of the slump. The Royals have seen a ton of left-handed pitchers here recently, and they've just kind of let him go out there and wave at it a little bit. Jensen is not a good hitter against left-handed pitching. I still think the jury's out if Jack Caglione is a good hitter against left-handed pitching. He has walked one time all season against lefties. That just means he's not seeing it very well. But I think that with Carter Jensen, he's a guy that I'm a little bit concerned about going into this back half of the season because I think he is tired. I think that he's gassed. And I also think that, he made that swing change early in the season. Jack Johnson brought that up and was able to kind of turn his season around and by a swing change, by a stance change. And you've already seen him kind of abandon that now when things go wrong. And it's one of the things that I was so critical with MJ Melendez. I'm very critical with it with Vinny Pasquantino. The best hitters in Major League Baseball, they do not change their swing, their stance, just because they're going through a slump. Bobby Witt Jr. has had the exact same swing and stance since he got in the major leagues, and it's allowed him to be one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball. Salvador Perez, he had a bit of a bigger leg kick when he got into the back half of his season, but like Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, everyone that I grew up watching with the Royals, they all had a very distinct level swing. You need to have confidence in where you're at, where your hands are at, where your legs are at. When you switch them around so much, and Melendez did it all the time. His swing from his AAA home run season to when he finally was cut by the Royals were entirely different things. Vinny Pasquantino does the exact same thing, where if he's in a slump, he's going to try and change something. I think that a lot of the times a slump is just the fact that you're not having a good approach at the plate. It's not that you're not swinging the bat well. I think that you have to have confidence that it's really hard to get to the major leagues as a hitter, and have confidence that you got there because of your bat to ball skills. I would like to see Carter Jensen find something and stick with it, or else we're going to get the next version of it. And I don't mean to say this, I mean it very lightly, but like, I don't want to have another MJ Melendez where Royals Twitter's like, hey, looks like they're making another change to Carter Jensen's swing after he went 0 for 20. I'm all for putting an effort to fix what is not working, but I just have a hard time when a guy goes through 5 different swing changes in one season. Like, you have to have an identity. You have to have something that you can hang your hat on. And I'm just worried about Carter Jensen. He had a hit today. He got plunked on his left arm. I'm concerned. I just think that he needs to have a little bit of confidence. I think it would help if he was not catching every single day, but Salvador Perez's health certainly does not help that. I would be fine if Salvador Perez turned into an everyday DH. I would rather him DH more often than not and have Luke Maile supplement them when they face a left-handed pitcher, because Carter Jensen just cannot hit left-handed pitching, and he has not been very good here recently at being able to just get any kind of swing path off. It feels like he's pressing. It's kind of what we saw from Jack Caglione at times last year. He's going through a little bit of a late season slump. Pitchers are adjusting, and I feel like he has to make an adjustment. But the rest of the Royals lineup, Michael Massey, let's talk about him. Michael Massey is, I think, been a blessing in disguise. I was higher on Michael Massey and Jonathan India, RIP, coming into this season than a lot of the public was. I thought that Michael Massey, after coming back from his last injury late last season, was really good and hit fastballs much better. He obviously started the season off a little bit slow, but since he's basically moved into this everyday second baseman role, he's been one of the best hitters for this Royals lineup, and he puts in a 3-for-4 day today with a home run. His OPS is up to 743. That is third on the team. He's above Nick Lofton. I think that Michael Massey, now you need to have an insurance plan, whether that's Nick Lofton or somebody else, but I am totally okay with Michael Massey being your starting second baseman going into next year, and I'd like to see him not in the 5th hole. I'd like to see him in the 7th or in the 8th hole, but I think that there is a starting caliber second baseman. I think he's going to win a Gold Glove this year at second. I think that is something I would put my money on, although that's not an endorsement. That's just my personal opinion. This is not financial advice. But I think that Michael Massey is a guy that has distanced himself from the pack. And I think that if you're looking at guys that have had good seasons for the Royals, that have improved themselves enough to make you feel confident in them, Jack Caglione's one and Michael Massey's another. They have, and I guess Nick Lofton, I'd throw him in that category as well, but they have found a role that they are comfortable in, and I think that it's important for the Royals to value them going into next season, and hopefully they continue this going into next year, and it's not a case of Vinny Pasquantino where he ends the season hot and then just comes into the next year and just can't do it at all. But I think that Michael Massey has distanced himself from the rest of the Royals roster at second base and really on the infield, and I'd like to see him get an opportunity as the everyday second baseman next year. It's one of those things where, when J.J. Picollo on October 1st is going through and writing down his organizational depth chart, you're going to have shortstop in pen, you're going to have your catcher in pen and Carter Jensen, you're likely having your first baseman in pen. Everything else is in pencil, but I do think second base is something that he's going to consider, having Michael Massey in there as a truly penned in second baseman for the next couple of years. But a win for the Royals today, a series win, and it was not a fun road trip for Royals fans. I'm glad that the West Coast road trips are over, but the Royals will start back at home tomorrow. They face the Athletics, another team that has had a year where they were expected to compete for a playoff spot, and they just fell off the face of the earth. So I saw a comment. I hope you apologize what you said about Noah Cameron. Hey, go watch the beginning of the video because I did. So I'm more than willing to take accountability for what I've said. I'm perfectly fine with being wrong. That's been well on display this season. I've been wrong plenty of times, but another win for the Royals, and hopefully they just play some good baseball when they return home for the A's coming up tomorrow night here on the Royals Postcast on the Locked On Royals channel.